To be honest, this was done in two parts. I started building the engine a while ago and realised that the rings were pinched on two of the pistons. The oil saver rings were pinched, so I did start building it a while ago and then had to order piston rings, so it took a while. You can tell a difference in the videos because in one of them I'm wearing my safety jandals, and in the other one I'm wearing the world's finest safety Crocs with socks. So I'm going to get back into Nephew's motor. We've had some bits turn up, so we can do a bit more on it. Assembling the blocks, I like to clean the seats where the bearings are going to go, and then clean the back of the bearings as well. Make sure there's nothing on them when they're seated. Then I seat them nicely, make sure that the ends are where they should be, nothing is sticking up proud, and then some assembly lube. Now, talking these bolts down, you know, most pages will say between 65 and 75. I do them to 75, but I'll do 50, 65, 75. Do a bit more on it. Got the ARP head studs have turned up. Some decided to put new rings in it. After trying to put the old pistons back in, I noticed that one or two of the oil rings on the pistons were pinched. So we bit the bullet, bought some new piston rings. So the pistons, I'll put the rings on the pistons today, put the pistons back in. Head gasket, ARP head studs, and then we'll get the head bolted to the block, and then theoretically we've got a long block. So first things first, get rid of all of these old rings. Now, if you've never fitted rings before, they are pretty self-explanatory, really. You just got to take your time and try not to over-force things, because that's when you'll break shit. But let us get these out. And what you have is all of the instructions on the packet. So any rings on the marking, any markings on the rings I should say, should be facing up. Now they come in a pack, and you have, there you go, first rings, which are your oil rings, second and third. So you start with these ones, put the oil ring in first, and then the top saver ring or keeper ring, and then the lower keeper ring. Then you do this one, and then this one, and they're all in there, all in packs. You can't really get it wrong. You know, just look at the groove, look at which one it is, and like I say, any markings that are on the rings themselves should be facing up towards the top of the piston. And there's also instructions on the back as well. So just read it all, go through it all, and then take your time and put it together. If in doubt, take the old ones off, try putting them back on, get used to fitting them in a way of doing it, then take them off, clean out the ringlets with the old ones, and then fit your new ones. Good when you get old, you know, you have to use your glasses as a magnifying glass because your eyesight deteriorates like fuck. So there you have it. That's your oil ring put together. So you got the center, the top keeper or saver ring, and then the bottom one. Turn them, make sure they're nice, and then move on to the next one. Now I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but on there's a little mark. Any little marks, no, it's not going to pick it up. Any little marks or dimples, face up. And there you go, that's all three on. They do go on there, they do stretch. You just don't try and yank things or pull things on different angles. You just want to try and feed them in, leave it sitting flat on the top, feed it around, and it'll just slot in. You just got to pull them and put them in. They do move, they are relatively easy to put on, but just don't try and force things. Okay, so that's one. Now these pistons have a little, I don't know if you can see it there actually, a little dimple there. That faces to the front. Just make sure that there's nothing on the back of the bearings. They're all nice and clean. And then I just pop them in there. Now they get torqued down to 35, well 35 foot-pounds. So I usually start around about 20. And I might go somewhere in between, so we'll go 33. Now, the main reason I'm putting oil in those bores is I'm going to turn it over a bunch. It's going to get turned over a bunch while you're doing other things to the engine as well. And I have no idea how long it's really going to sit here until it's all good to go. So it's just preventative. So that's it. Now I'll move on to the head. Now before I put the head studs in, I have a an old head bolt that I just put a cut in, and I just chase the holes with that just to clean out any shit before I put them in. It's just a simple thing, but you'll be amazed the amount of shit that comes out of the holes. Now what I'll do is I'll just give this surface a nice good clean. As you can tell, a bit of oil everywhere, but a bit of schmutz comes out of each of those holes, you know. Considering it's all been water blasted, cleaned and everything, so I'll clean the surface off. That'll give it time to dry while we get all the head studs ready. So this is the ARP head stud kit. I believe this is the only thing that's holding my motor together. A completely standard motor and ARP head studs, which is going to be the same as my nephew's, but obviously he's got rings in his, whereas I put the old rings back in mine. But this is the kit. So you've got your studs, your washers, your nuts, the lube, and a sticker, and then basic instructions. If you follow these, you can't go wrong. It even has all the torque settings in it, how to set it up, check the hardware, check for defects first and everything, because you know if there are any defects you've got to send them back and they're happy to exchange them. But everything you need to know here, it's all simple, but these are by far the superior bolts to standard ones, and they're reusable, so I would recommend them. I think here in New Zealand, these are the cheapest ones I found in New Zealand to buy, and they came from Australia, and I think they're around about $283 for the set, and well worth it. So they recommend you check the lengths, clean them all off. I just used methylated spirits, wiped them all down, cleaned all the residue off them, and then all you have to do is put them in the block finger tight. Now, as I said before, I'm a fan of the Victorine's gaskets. I find them much better. Some of the stuff you buy here off the shelves in New Zealand, I never found them very good. The head gaskets are well made. You know, they're well used in the UK on Cosworths and on Pintos. And this one here is a 1.3. Gasket all on. Head all cleaned. Then use an ARP's own lube. Nice. You've got to lube the threads, lube the washers and the nuts. Right, so once they're all lubed, you've got to put the washers on. Also make sure that these are, make sure these are seated correctly. Now here's you got to use like unless you've got a really slim sockets, a 3/8, because it has to fit on the nut but also in that slot. That fits perfectly, but you can't use a 1/2 inch. Well, I couldn't anyway, unless you have a 1/2 inch slimline socket. So ARP would like you to go 30, 60, 90. I think I might do one in between there. I might go 30, 50, 60, 90. We'll see. We'll start with 30 anyway. So I'll do 50 next. Right, we'll go 60. Right. And then 90. That's when you feel like you're going to break shit. So that's 90 foot pounds. So that's the head. That's basically the long block done now. And then slowly start putting things together. Yeah, she's looking good. Nice and clean, all fresh. You know, yes, I put the old bearings back in it, but they were pretty good. New rings, hone, everything's cleaned up, head stripped. Mild porting, relashed the valves in, fully rebuilt the head, done all the valve clearances. So it's pretty good as it is at the moment. So now it's just a matter of piecing things together and figuring the rest of the stuff out. Still got to look at finding a turbo manifold for it yet. But apart from that, you know, like I say, I'm not a mechanic, but you can do stuff at home. And this is exactly how I built my last engine, and you know that's running quite good power, and it's been running for a while now. All right, thank you very much. Cheers. And then, because of the environment they're in here in my garage, I wrap them all up when I finish, just to seal them up.